Hello, my name is Andrew Wachter, and I'm a research associate at the National Center for Juvenile Justice, and also the project manager for Nevada Center for Juvenile Justice Innovation, Nevada's evidence-based resource center. As Nevada's juvenile justice system moves towards adopting evidence-based programs and practices, juvenile services departments and service providers across the state should be reviewing their continuum of services to determine where they fit within Nevada's evidence-based practice definition matrix. A previous video on NCJJI's website, titled Using Nevada's Evidence-Based Practice Definition Matrix, reviews that matrix and provides guidance on determining where your programs may fall on the continuum. Nevada's Evidence-Based Practices Definition Matrix identifies 3 categories of programs that have some evidence to support their effectiveness. These programs are evidence-based, research-based, and evidence-informed, all of which are eligible for state funding by Nevada's DCFS. Building evidence of effectiveness to earn these designations is challenging because programs don't often have the resources or personnel to conduct program evaluations. The purpose of this training video is to help juvenile services departments and other service providers begin building evidence to determine the effectiveness of their programs to ensure they meet the needs of youth and so that they can be eligible for funding from DCFS. This video will focus specifically on the criteria necessary to fit within the evidence-informed category of Nevada's Evidence-Based Practices Definition Matrix, which is the least restrictive category still eligible for funding from Nevada's DCFS. Before beginning these activities, it's best to create a small work group that consists of staff from multiple levels of the organization. If your organization lacks research staff, consider engaging a local university with graduate students that may be able to assist in the process of building evidence around your programs. The work group should discuss the program's purpose and the need the program is trying to address. The first activity the work group should engage in is the development of a logic model. A logic model is a visual representation of how a program works and a description of its expected outcomes. It can help to get everyone on the same page about the purpose and inner workings of the program. Logic models are important for programs you may have purchased from a developer, as well as those locally developed or homegrown programs. If you purchased a program curriculum, contact the developer and ask for program documentation and any program evaluations that may exist. This information can help you develop a logic model. A simplified version of a logic model has 3 areas. The who describes the targeted population, the how describes the services delivered, and the what describes the anticipated youth outcomes. The first area, targeted population, describes the youth who are intended to participate in the program. This area should identify characteristics that the targeted population has in common, such as age, gender, or risk factors. For example, a program may be suitable for females who have an identified need to work on antisocial thinking and attitudes. Once the targeted population is identified, think about what changes in knowledge, attitude, behaviors, or skills are anticipated based on the participation in the program. Often the risk factors identified in the description of the targeted population provide clues to the types of changes that can be expected. For example, if a primary risk factor targeted by the program is antisocial thinking, an anticipated youth outcome could be to decrease antisocial thinking among the youth who successfully complete the program. It's critical that the anticipated program outcomes be tied to the criminogenic risk factors identified in the target population. Research tells us that interventions that are specifically connected to criminogenic risk factors are more successful in decreasing subsequent offending. To determine the anticipated outcomes, consider the following questions. What differences are expected as a result of the program? What will youth learn as a result of the program? How will behavior change based on the participation in the program? What are the ultimate goals of the program? And are the outcomes related to risk factors? Finally, determine how your program achieves the anticipated youth outcomes. Review the processes and activities that youth experience or participate in while involved in the program. Consider the following questions. What activities do youth attend as part of the program? How do youth participate in the activities? Are there specific activities that the youth need to complete? Are there certain steps that youth must accomplish to meet the anticipated outcomes? And are the activities designed to address specific risk factors? Another important activity for the work group is the development of implementation guidance, which is required to earn the evidence-informed designation in Nevada. Implementation guidance usually exists in the form of a program manual or curriculum, which explains how the program is designed to be implemented. This helps ensure consistency across program staff and helps to train employees on the correct way of administering the program. Program manuals and curriculum often include details on the program's targeted population, the program's duration, for example, how many sessions to complete, the frequency of those sessions, for example, 3 times a week, the length of each session, the optimal number of youth per session, structure and learning objectives for each session, as well as staff qualifications necessary to implement the program effectively. The final step in building evidence for your program is to collect and analyze data. The logic model can provide a roadmap for identifying what data to collect. For example, the WHO identifies and describes the program's targeted population. You will need to collect data to describe the program participants, including their age, race, gender, and risk factors. The how describes the youth's progress through the program's activities, and you'll want to collect data on youth attendance and participation in program activities, such as program start and completion dates, number of sessions attended, as well as the number of youth who successfully complete the program. The what describes the anticipated changes in youth as a result of participating in the program. Outcomes can be short-term, those that immediately following the completion of the program, or long-term, which are measured after the completion of the program. Short-term objectives often focus on changes in knowledge, attitudes, or behaviors, which can be measured by surveys or assessments administered once before the program starts and again at the completion of the program. For example, a program designed to reduce aggressive behavior might measure changes in attitudes towards using violence to solve problems or increase knowledge in alternatives to using violence to solve problems by using pre- and post surveys or assessments. Long-term outcomes, such as subsequent offending or meeting educational milestones, often require coordination with other agencies such as courts or schools. It may take up to a year or more of data collection before you can begin analyzing the data to determine whether or not your program met its anticipated outcomes. The evidence-informed designation requires, at a minimum, positive results, which can be determined through the results of pre- and post tests. This involves measuring youth's attitudes, knowledge, or behaviors before and after the program and comparing the results. The attitude, knowledge, or behavior should be related to the criminogenic risk factors that the program is intended to affect. Developing a logic model, creating implementation guidance, and collecting data are important activities to measure your program's effectiveness and will help improve the quality of programming and subsequently improve outcomes for youth and families in Nevada's juvenile justice system. The NCJJI website has additional resources to help in these efforts. For additional guidance on developing a logic model and collecting data, review the Continuous Quality Improvement Guide for Juvenile Organizations. In addition, review the Evidence-Based Practices Definition Matrix for more details on other requirements to earn the evidence-informed, research-based, and evidence-based designations for your programs. If you have questions about where your programs currently fit on the Evidence-Based Practice Matrix or need assistance building evidence for your program, contact NCJJI and we will be happy to help you. We also encourage you to explore the NCJJI website and stay connected by signing up for the email newsletter. Thank you for your continued efforts to provide Nevada's youth and families with programs and services that are effective and designed to improve outcomes for youth and the communities in which they live.